Copilot is your everyday AI companion in Microsoft Outlook. Whether you're composing a new email, replying to emails you received, or reviewing a lengthy thread that's been forwarded to you, Copilot can help you strengthen your writing, compose thoughtful replies, and analyze messages to give you the key takeaways. Hi, I'm LinkedIn Learning Senior Staff Instructor Garrick Chow, and in this course, we're going to look at some of the most useful ways you can have Copilot help enhance your emails and maximize your workday efficiency. The name Copilot is used by Microsoft for several of their products and services. So before we jump into this course, I want to take a moment to clarify how the name applies to this specific course on using Copilot in Microsoft Outlook. So first we have a free version of Copilot. Anyone can use Copilot on the web by going to copilot.microsoft.com to ask questions, draft text, or generate images. There are some limitations to the free version of Copilot, such as the number of prompts you can use per day being capped, and the responses from Copilot potentially being a little slower. But again, anyone can use this web-based version of Copilot for free without an account. But the free version doesn't allow you to use Copilot in Microsoft 365 applications like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, and so on. To use Copilot through those and other M365 apps, you have to have a paid subscription to Copilot either through a personal or individual account, or an account you have through work or school, also referred to as a business account. If you're subscribing as an individual, you'll be subscribing to a product called Copilot Pro. Copilot Pro is currently $20 a month. And you can see that one of the features of Copilot Pro is you can access Copilot in Microsoft 365 apps, which again is not available through the free web-based version of Copilot. Now, if your Microsoft account is through your work or school, that's considered a business account. And the subscription for business accounts is called Microsoft 365 Copilot. In most cases, if you have your subscription through work or school, your network administrator or IT department will set up your Copilot subscription for you, and you'll see Copilot when you open up your Microsoft 365 applications without having to do anything yourself. All right, so that's a quick overview of the different Copilot subscriptions. For this course, just bear in mind that you must have either a Copilot Pro or a Microsoft 365 Copilot subscription to see Copilot in Microsoft Outlook. If you'd like to learn more about what Copilot entails across Microsoft's products and services, including more about the web-based version of Copilot, be sure to check out my colleague Nick Brazzi's course, What is Copilot? Get started with Microsoft's Everyday AI Companion. One other thing to be aware of if you want to be able to use all the features of Copilot in Outlook is that you have to use what's currently being referred to, at least as of this recording, as the new Outlook. Now, we're currently looking at the older or legacy version of Outlook in Windows. And while you can access some Copilot features here when you, say, draft a new email, for example, here's the Copilot button, where you can use it to draft a message or use the coaching feature, you'll only get the full experience if you're using the new Outlook. Now, one way to get the new Outlook is to come up to this upper right-hand corner of the window and click this Try the New Outlook switch here. This will either download and install the new Outlook for you, or if it's already on your computer, you can switch over to it from here. And now we're looking at the new Outlook. Now, alternately, if you don't have the new Outlook or any version of Outlook installed, you can open up the Microsoft Store on your computer, do a search for Outlook, and that will bring up the latest version of Outlook, which you can then install from here. So the new Outlook looks like this. You can see we have the Copilot menu in the ribbon, and the Copilot panel on the right is open. You can also access the Copilot chat experience by clicking the Copilot icon here in the left navigation area. We'll just go back to our inbox for now. And you can see the new Outlook switch is enabled. So again, this will give you the full Copilot experience in Outlook. Now, the same thing goes if you're using Outlook on a Mac. First, make sure you're running the most current version of Outlook. If, even after updating, you're still seeing this legacy interface, just come up to the switch at the top of the window and turn off Legacy Outlook. And after a few moments, that switches us to the new Outlook for Mac. All right, so just make sure you're running the new Outlook on whichever operating system you're using, and let's jump into using Copilot. Copilot is a great resource to have at your fingertips when you need to compose a new email message, but aren't quite sure how to get started. As long as you have a general idea of what your email is about, Copilot can help you compose it. In Outlook, start by clicking the New Mail button. Then you can either click the Draft with Copilot link that appears in the body of the message area, or if you've already clicked in the body of the message and that link has disappeared, just go to the Copilot button in the ribbon and choose Draft. And that gives us the Draft with Copilot box where we can tell Copilot what we want to compose. Now, when you write a command or request to an AI, what you're writing is called a prompt. We're not going to get too deeply into all the best practices of prompt writing in this course, but as a general rule, it's a good idea to be clear about what you want, to provide some context, and to be as specific as possible. Now, we can choose from some of the suggested prompts we see here, like give an update, announcement, create a newsletter, and so on. Or we can write our own. Let's write our own for this example. So let's say I'm a manager and I need to let my team know that annual review time is approaching and they need to complete their self-reviews. So I'll click in here and write something like, act as a manager, let my team know that annual reviews will once again be held in July this year, and that they should have their self-reviews completed and submitted by June 15th, and that the tools to help them write the reviews are available on our company SharePoint. So here I'm telling Copilot to take on the perspective of being a manager. I'm telling it what I want, to remind my team that annual reviews are approaching and that they should submit their self-reviews, and that tools to help them are available on our SharePoint. Let's click the Generate button and see what we get. And there it is. So for my prompt, we now have this email that reads, I hope this message finds you well. I want to inform you that our annual reviews will once again be held in July this year. As part of the process, it is essential that each of you complete and submit your self-reviews by June 15th. To assist you in writing your reviews, we have made a variety of tools and resources available on our company SharePoint, and so on. So I think this message is actually pretty good. Now, it's a good idea to always consider Copilot-generated content as a first draft, and to always read every word it generates to make sure it applies to your situation and to customize it to suit your needs. Notice it even says here that AI-generated content may be incorrect. So never take what it generates and send it out into the world without reviewing it and rewriting it yourself. Now, with that said, if the results weren't quite what you were looking for, or if you want to make some slight change, Copilot can continue to help you. Some things you can do after generating your content include coming down to the prompt window. And here we have a Keep It button, and you can click that if you're happy with the results. There's a Discard button to get rid of what it generated. And if you want to try again, you can click the Retry button. And it will go through the entire process again, giving you slightly different results from the same prompt. So now we have a new version of the email to check out. Now the great thing about this is you can come down to the prompt window and use these arrows to switch back and forth between your results to decide which one you prefer to use as the starting point for your document. Now, if there are elements of both that you like, you might want to copy and paste them into a separate email and compile them together. But in this case, let's say I like version 2, but I still want to make some changes to it. Here under Modify Content, you can try the prompts to make it shorter or to make it longer. Or you can click Change Tone, which gives you options to make the tone of the email more direct, casual, formal, or you can have it compose the email in the form of a poem, which is more of a novelty to demonstrate Copilot's abilities and probably not something you want to use in real work emails. Now you can also type in your own custom instructions for what you'd like to change. So for example, I could type, make the tone a little more friendly and supportive, and emphasize the importance of reaching out to me if there are questions or issues. And we'll send that. And after a few seconds, we now have this third version, which says, I hope this message finds you well. I wanted to remind everyone that our annual reviews will once again be held in July this year. As part of the process, we kindly ask that you complete and submit your self-reviews, and so on. Notice it ends now with, thank you for all your hard work and dedication. I look forward to another great year ahead. So the tone is now definitely a little more friendly and supportive. Again, you can click through the different options. But once you have a draft you like, just click Keep It. And now I have a good starting point for my email to work with, instead of having to draft a new email completely from scratch myself. You can see how Copilot can be a really big time saver in Outlook. But again, be sure to take the time to review your draft and make any edits or additions you might need before sending it off. In addition to drafting an email from scratch, as we saw how to do in the previous video, Copilot can also help you draft replies to the emails you received. Copilot can look at the message you received and come up with a reply based on what you specify in your prompt. So I've selected an email I received where Pedro is asking if I have the most recent current technical specifications for a project we're working on. Notice here at the top of the message area, Outlook is offering some quick ways to reply. It knows that Pedro is asking me for something, so it offers to attach a file to the reply right away, or I can start my reply with, "Here's what I have," or "I will get them to you." Now, of course, we can also click the reply button to draft a reply. And notice down here at the bottom, we have this Draft with Copilot area. And these are a couple quick prompts we can click on. So we have Sending Them Now, we'll check Updates, Aya has the info, or Custom. So for example, if I clicked Sending Them Now, it will draft a reply for me. And just like that, we have this reply based on the general message of the reply I clicked. Notice it says here, I'll go ahead and send them your way right now. And as we saw earlier, we can continue to refine the message by typing a prompt in the prompt area, or by clicking the retry button to have it create another draft. For this example, let's click discard, because maybe I want to include more specific information in my reply. So I can either click the custom reply option here at the bottom of the window, or if you no longer see that option, you can click the Copilot button in the ribbon and click Draft. And Copilot is smart enough to know that I'm working in this particular message, so it opens up the prompt window here. And maybe here I'll say, the current specs are still being reviewed by the tech team, and they've let me know that they'll update the wiki by the end of day today. And we'll send that. And now it's drafted this reply for me. It says things like, they've assured me that they will have the updates finalized and uploaded to the project wiki by the end of the day. Thanks for your patience. Feel free to reach out, and so on. So it contains all the information that I wanted to share. But maybe Pedro and I are good friends, so I'm going to click the Change Tone menu. And I'm going to ask Copilot to compose my reply in a more casual tone. And there it is. And as we saw before, from here you can further refine the reply by typing in another prompt or by clicking Retry. I'm okay with this reply though, so I'll click Keep It. And as always, be sure to review the draft and further customize it as necessary before sending it off. Maybe I'll just add at the end, "See you at the all hands tomorrow." And once I'm happy with the reply, I can click Send. Copilot's ability to summarize emails can help you quickly get caught up on your messages. You can have Copilot summarize single emails to give you the important points, or even long threads to help you understand what information or tasks you need to be aware of. For example, we're looking at an email here from Pedro to Kim, where he's forwarding Kim this long exchange between him and Aya, in which they're discussing issues that have come up on the project they're all working on. And Pedro is asking Kim to provide her insight into these issues. And as you can see, there's a lot to read here. Now, a good way for Kim to jump in and get her bearings is to come up to the top of the window. And when you have an email selected, you'll see this Summary by Copilot option at the top of the email thread. I'll click that, and Copilot will scan the entire discussion looking for and identifying key points, and then create a summary. And you can see the summary now appears here at the top of the email, detailing those key points. Now, depending on the nature of the email and the summary, this might be all you need to compose a thoughtful reply, but as always, you'll want to at least skim through the discussion and see if there's anything important that Copilot might have missed. Notice we also have this Ask Copilot button here. And that opens up the Copilot panel, and we can ask questions about this thread or dig deeper into the summary. Notice we have some prompt options here at the top, like show action items for me in this email, what are the key points, and so on. So for example, I'll click Understand what are the key points in this email. And you can see that gives me a much more in-depth summary of the key points that Pedro and Aya have been discussing in this thread. Notice we have some more suggested prompts here, like I could ask, what are the next steps for me? Or can you provide more details on the technical challenges? Or you can type in the prompt area at the bottom and ask Copilot your own question. like give me a summary of the proposed solutions. And again, we get a good overview from Copilot. And notice again, we can just keep asking follow-up questions. It suggests when is the preliminary report due and what are the estimated costs. So continuing to ask questions might actually allow you to gain insights that you might not necessarily get just from reading the actual messages. Copilot might bring up questions or angles on the issues that you hadn't thought of yourself. So by starting with the basic summary and then digging deeper with the Copilot panel, you'll have a pretty good idea of what the emails you've received are about and what actions or information the senders are looking for in your reply. Copilot in Outlook can provide helpful coaching with suggestions on ways to adjust the tone and clarity of your emails before you send them to make sure you're effectively conveying your message the way you intend. Here we have an email that Kim has composed to send to Pedro, essentially letting him know that she won't be able to join his team on a new project. Now, this message has been composed without Copilot so far, and it's the first draft Kim has written. You can have Copilot coach you in new emails or in replying to emails you received. Just either create a new message or click reply on an existing message and type your email as we've done here. Then click the Copilot icon in the message ribbon and choose Coaching. Copilot will take a moment to read what you've written and analyze it. And now we have this box with categories for tone, reader sentiment, and clarity. So with tone selected, Copilot is telling us that the overall tone of this email is friendly and professional, maintaining a positive relationship despite declining the request. It does note that it could be more supportive. Below this assessment, it offers suggestions like, instead of "I'm a little too busy," say "I currently have a full schedule" to sound more professional. Replace "I suggest you check in with Aya" with "Aya might be available to assist you" to make the suggestion sound more collaborative. And consider ending with "Please let me know if there's any other way I can support you to offer further help." Clicking Reader Sentiment scrolls us down to that area. And this basically addresses the way what you've written might make the recipient feel. In this case, it's telling us that the email is respectful and appreciative of the reader's request, but adding more appreciation could strengthen the positive sentiment, and again, it offers some suggestions. Then we have the clarity area, and this has to do with how clearly we got the message across. In this case, Copilot is telling us that the email clearly communicates the main points, but it could offer more details on alternatives and the nature of the projects. And once again, it offers some suggestions on how to improve the clarity. For example, if Copilot is telling you to offer more of an explanation for your actions, but you don't feel that's necessary, you can just ignore that suggestion. We also have this Regenerate button here, if you want to have Copilot scan your message again and give you slightly different coaching suggestions. We also have the option to apply all suggestions if you wanted to rewrite the email for you, applying all of the suggestions it offers. And you can keep this coaching area open as you make your changes so you can reference these suggestions. So we've seen that in Outlook, clicking the Copilot button in the ribbon opens up the Copilot panel, just like in the other M365 apps like Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. And from here, we can ask questions or perform tasks, all while being able to use Outlook side by side with the chat. Not only can you ask questions about the emails you're viewing, but you can ask questions about your organization's data, you can pull information from the web, or even take action directly in Outlook. We have some prompt suggestions at the top of the panel to get you started. Now, what you see here can vary, but we have things like stay on top by showing action items for me in this email, find something by finding relevant documents based on this email, and so on. And of course, we know that down here at the bottom of the panel, you can type your own prompts. For example, instead of digging through my settings to set an out-of-office notification, I can just type, set my out-of-office from tomorrow through Monday at 2 p.m. Copilot takes a moment and then brings up the settings right here in the panel. It even generated an automatic reply people will receive if they send me an email during this time. Now, this is actually a perfect example of why we should always check what Copilot does. It got the dates right by setting the duration of my out of office, but in the automatic reply, it's saying that I will be out of office until November 29th, even though we're still in February. So again, this is a good example of always checking what AI writes for you. So I'll be sure to delete November 29th and put in March 3rd. So we can edit this automatic reply. We can change the duration manually if we need to. If we want to, we can click Manage in Settings to go directly to those settings in Outlook. I'll just close that for now. But if we're happy with the settings that Copilot has come up with here, I can click Save. And we see the message here that that's been saved. And again, if I go back into Settings, we can see it correctly set my out of office time. So we've seen that you can use the chat panels to do things like ask questions about the emails you're reading, and you can use it to draft messages or to get summaries or pull action items from emails. You can also use the Copilot panel to search for and schedule appointments. For example, I could say, find me a 45-minute block of time to meet with Aya next Tuesday, March 4th. And Copilot checks my schedule for an open slot and suggests a time. It's suggesting 1 o'clock to 1:45 on Tuesday. Now I can click View to go to my calendar in Outlook. And if I go to March, I can see I do in fact have that slot open from 1 to 1:45. So if I'm good with this time, I can click Send to schedule the meeting and send the invite to Aya. And we get confirmation that Copilot has done that. So bear in mind that if you need to accomplish a task in Outlook, whether it's drafting or summarizing messages, or scheduling meetings, or changing some settings, remember that Copilot is there as your assistant to help you do, or at least start, the work for you.